gentlemen, and distinguished participants, welcome back to the session for the 4th International Conference on Muslim World Economy and Business, ICMWEB and Call for Paper 2025. We hope you had a restful break and now are charged and ready to learn more as we kick off the next session of today's conference. Without further ado, let us turn our attention to the second keynote speech, which will be delivered by a highly distinguished figure in Indonesia's economic and diplomatic landscape, Mr. Muhammad Lutfi. Mr. Muhammad Lutfi is a former Minister of Trade of the Republic of Indonesia, having served in 2014 and again from 2020 to 2022. He began his career as a successful entrepreneur, gaining first-hand experience in the global market. He then served as Indonesia's ambassador to Japan and to the United States, where he played a key role in strengthening bilateral economic relations.
And as Trade Minister, Mr. Lutfi led Indonesia's international trade agenda through a challenging global period and uncertainty, including the pandemics. He was actively involved in key trade negotiations, digital trade development, and efforts to increase Indonesia's competitiveness in the global economy, positioning Indonesia as a stronger player in international commerce. With this impressive background, Mr. Lutfi continues to be a leading voice in shaping Indonesia's role in the global economy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Muhammad Lutfi to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Yang saya hormati Profesor Dian Maishita, it is an honor for me to come and speak before you today, and I had the assignment to entertain you after lunch, which is always very difficult, and especially with a full stomach and no coffee, not easy, and especially after so many distinguished speakers. And so I have to show you that I know him personally, though I cannot say I know what he thinks lately. I had the privilege actually to look at Indonesia firsthand. Well, it evolves from a crisis in 1998, where Indonesia's economy shrunk from $1,000 per capita in GDP, shrunk to be $463 in 1998. And when I joined the government the first time in 2005, 2004, the economy back to $1,000. The contribution of investment was at 19% at that time, so it was very low. It was not healthy, and I was 35 years old at that time. I was named as a chairman of investment board. Today is Minister of Investment. And I was at the office of the Minister of Investment a few weeks ago, and I looked at the pictures. I was number 13, and the current one is my good buddy. It's number 20, the 20th. So we're the same age. Actually, Rosan now, the current Minister of Investment, is my good friend, and it was 20 years ago. So it was a long time ago. I was a young man. Now I'm not that young anymore. But the growth was, at that time, Indonesia was 19% contribution from investment. The healthy number is 31%. And in order to Indonesia to capture as golden age of Indonesia gold or Indonesia emas, is the healthy part is 40% from the GDP of Indonesia has to come from investment. And in order to do that, it's a fight of philosophy. Cut red tapes, to make sure that investment come to Indonesia easily, make sure that everything goes smoothly. And for those of you that comes from a country that's still in the middle income or lower middle income, you have to do this as Indonesia is doing right now, and we'll see if Indonesia is successful or not. We're going to see that by 2038, whether Indonesia can surpass that middle income trap or not, okay? So, and after that, I thought that I'm going to retire, but my president named me as an ambassador to Japan. And when I came to Japan the first time, and this is empirical experience, I saw that. When I came to Japan the first time, investment of Japanese to Indonesia was $700 million in 2010. When I left, Japanese investment came up to 4.7 billion, went up by 700%. I thought that must be the ambassador. It's not. It was because actually the demand for automobiles was so high, and demand for that also very big because people are moving from Thailand, which at that time the political situation was not good. You remember when there's a coup d'etat in Thailand, and they have to move when there's no political stability. They move from Lam Chabang, Thailand to Kerawang in Indonesia. And Indonesia, I saw that Indonesian as destinations for Japanese investment during my time as an investment board chairman was at number 9. It went up to number 8. It stays number 8 as long as I was there. And when I was ambassador, it went to number 3 and went to number 1 when I left Japan in 2013. But the number was not lying. When I was there in 2006, I see the numbers. United States, as the biggest consumer of cars, was there. Every 1,000 Americans has 1,001 cars. The Japanese, every 1,000 Japanese, they have 562 cars. Oh, I'm sorry. How do I do this? Oh, that way. I don't know. Okay. Okay. And then the number was like this. 1,000 Thais, they have 179 cars. In Indonesia, they have 37 cars every 1,000 people. So I knew then Indonesia will burst into a consumer of cars. And right away, in 2010, the Japanese came because they anticipated that number. Why I said about these cars? Because there's 3 common denominators about my presentation this afternoon. One is Indonesia, second about automobiles, and 3 is about the United States as well, about controlling of power. So the first one is, when I saw about the cars, is the second one. And then the third one, when I become the Minister of Trade in 2014, I saw also that I had times only 8 months, and they were talking about TPP. I thought I only have 8 months. TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, was tough to negotiate. But the Vietnamese just concluded with the European, and they are negotiating with the TPP. I said, well, I had the automotive already from the Japanese. Why automotive was good? Because automobiles have 1,200 parts in a car. And the Vietnamese already lost at that time. I thought, I'm the champion. I'm good enough. And I don't want to do 8 months and labor myself for these TPP things. Because TPP was tough. This is basically a battle, a ring of 2 fighters wear nothing but their own underwear. That was TPP, how they give an analogy for TPP. I said, I cannot do that. I don't have the political power to do it, and I have only 8 months. Was I right or was I wrong? I was really wrong. What happened was, the Vietnamese used this TPP to attract investment in electronics. Right now, Vietnamese export about 350 billions. 130 billions goes to the United States in electronics. And their surplus from United States is 121 billion US dollars just in electronics. This is a very sophisticated industry. And the next game that we are going to talk about is about EV car. EV car is about electronics, about a phone with 4 wheels. And this is, I think, where I got it wrong. I'm not Superman, but this is where I got it wrong. But for Indonesia, it's not too late. So 3 things that's very important. So, in March, somewhere before Idul Fitri, Indonesia had a big economic conference at the palace. And one of the speech given by my Minister of Finance was very mind-boggling. She says something like, what happened in the world today is not logical. Why? Because the policy in the United States especially created what they call higher inflations with lower output. Does it make sense? This is not logical. There must be something there. So we cannot go up with the current situations. Because of that, which is I tend to agree. So I look at the formula, because you are all business school and economic students, so I brought up the formula of equilibrium. So then I look, you look at the tax cut, and the tax and the government expenditure is a very important part of Trump administration's promise, which they said that, I'm going to cut tax for Americans, because this is the recipe in 2017, which going to create economic growth, and economic growth will create business, create jobs, create everything. This is a freshwater economics. They don't want to touch about, this is a government laissez-faire, and this is how they create economics. This is Chicagoan economists will like to do this. So, how do we see the American's economy? The American economy is like this. They have debt right now existing about $36 trillion. What they are going to do with the budget of 2025 is around $6 trillion. What they generate from tax and everything is $4 trillion. So they have a deficit of $2 trillion. So they are going to have a debt, or they have to print monies, or they have to do debt for their budget this year, $2 trillion. So they are going to have an aggregate of debt of $38 trillion. This cannot go forever. The Republican does not like this. So they have to stop somewhere. How do they do that? So they have to cut expenditure. So that is why Elon Musk with Dodge trying to cut these things. And then to a certain extent, I'm a businessman. I know we have to cut costs. And to a certain extent, we have to do that. Government has to do that. And Indonesia has been going into a rampage of doing inefficient things as well. So I tend to agree with what he's doing, because we as government and I as policymaker, like what he's doing, and this is the right thing to do. But now, what's happening with the situations? If you look at the quantitative easing in 2012 to 2014, what we see, so the American is printing money because our economy is interconnected one to each other. The economy, because the interest rate is very low in the United States, they buy assets in the So what happened when they cut taxes in the United States? They cut taxes in the United States. They cut every single expenditure in the United States. They created a surplus, a demand. So they buy from somewhere else. When they buy from somewhere else, what do they buy? They buy from China. The United States buy about $300 billion from the Chinese. $400 billion from the Chinese. But 52% from that $400 billion is capital goods. Capital goods is something to produce something to. So interconnected. So they cannot stop this too, basically. Yes, 48% is for consumption, but 52% is capital goods. So this is like something that you have to play. Is this for real or this is just a bluff? So to me, this is a very important part. If you cut your expenditure, you cut the taxes, created demand, but your demand will fix the economy of somebody else, does that defeat your purpose? It does defeat your purpose. Because then you fix the problem in China instead of fixing the problem in your country. That is why Donald Trump, the first trip that he did, abroad for business trip, not counting Vatican or anything like that, is to go to United Arab Emirates. To do what? To get investment. To go to Saudi Arabia, got 600 trillion of investment. Going to Qatar to get 140 trillion of investment. You go back to this formula. They want to create jobs. They want to create something. So actually, if people says that Donald Trump is erratic, is anything but our life is interconnected one to the other too much, it's not easy to navigate our economy, especially for decision maker, especially for economists. Are we clear on that? So anything, it's like that, okay? How do we do this? Okay. Okay. So now, the first common denominators is about control, about power, about hegemony, about who owns the world, okay? I took this from, we were talking about this with two professors, distinguished professors I shared lunch with. And I urge you to read this book. It's, I think, one of the best books that you can read, especially for today. This is by Graham Allison, the book called Destined for War. Okay? This is a book about two hegemony that try to fight two hegemony try to fight for world power. Okay? It starts with Athens and Sparta. They're neighbors in Greece in Peloponnese War. And Thucydides is a war chronicle, so he writes about what he sees. Sparta was a military state, and Athens was a state with economics, basically. And Sparta destroyed Athens. Okay? And this is, in the last 500 years, happened like this. 16 times world power happens. Only 4 didn't end up with war. Only 4. The first one is the Spanish and the Portuguese. And you know what? The deal was because they have a treaty. They call it Tordesillas Treaty. In 1494, they split a longitude of 370 degrees. The one to the west of that line belonged to Spain. The one went to the east of that line belonged to the Portuguese. And you know what this route is? This is a shipping route. They divide world into two, and to find, listen to this, a shipping route to a secret place for spices, especially nutmeg, in Bandar Naira, in the Moluccas, in Indonesia, second denominators. Okay? I'm going to come back to this because the second denominators of Indonesia, and this is located just right in the Moluccas also for nickel. Yeah? But this is in 1494, they split the world so they can do this. So a guy named Ferdinand Magellan told Queen Isabella and her husband. Queen Isabella is the one that actually rules Spain at that time. Magellan is a Portuguese, a Portuguese. And he told Queen Isabella, he says, if I go from the west instead from the east, Bandar Naira, the Spice Island, belongs to Spain. So, from Europe, from Spain, he sailed west to South America, to the Americas, and then from South America, sail to the Pacific, and goes to Bandar Naira through the Philippines, through Guam and the Philippines. And if I found the Spice Island, it's Spain. He sailed the Pacific for 3 months. No islands, no water, nothing. Came with 270 people, came back with 19 people. He died, killed in the Philippines, never came back. 19 people came back to Spain. Okay? He died in the Philippines. And proven wrong. Bandar Naira still Portuguese. That was the deal. So, out of 16, the first one, the one that end up in war is Spain and Portugal. The second one is the hegemony of the United States and England in 1945. The third one is the Soviet and the United States during Cold War. And the last one is Germany when Germany entered European Union. And now the challenge is, can we avoid war between the United States and China in the Indo-Pacific this century? So I told the professor during my lunch, I said, look, the Chinese can be very, very active, very aggressive, but the Chinese is very transparent. They said what they want to do. You know, they put it in the manifest. You know, the 9, 10 dotted lines. They said it in 1970, in the 70s. You know, this is what they want to do. And the first one who raised their hand in the United Nations in New York is Indonesian diplomat named Muhtar Kusumaatmaja. And they said, this is wrong. We were the one that actually flagged it out. Okay? And now they said that, you know, they only can compete with the United States in 2045. I personally believe that they only can be par with the United States when they have the submarine battle that can be put a nuclear warhead in the submarine. And they don't have it yet. But 2 weeks before the war of the invasion of Ukraine, President Xi Jinping and President Putin signed an agreement of what, forever together or something like that. And after that thing, a year later, the Chinese says they expedite that to be in 2035. They have must sign something. So I don't think there will be anything happen until 2035. Because I don't think the Chinese will do, because they are very sophisticated, and I don't think the Chinese will do anything until they have the power to equal the United States. Okay, so now, trade war. I wanna ask you, does these things happen before? It did. It happens in 1980s and 90s when the Japanese Mitsubishi Fudosan, Mitsubishi Real Estate in 1989 put a bid and they want to buy Rockefeller Center in New York. Have anybody seen Rockefeller Center in New York? So there's a building with the biggest Christmas tree during Christmas, and there is a skating rink in front. NBC is broadcast from Rockefeller Center. So Mitsubishi Real Estate tried to buy it for 75%, like $1 billion or something like that in 1989. Shocked Americans, and they said that this cannot happen because Japanese economy at that time, I think, worth about 3/4 of the Americans' economy. So they're challenging the American. And what did they do? And right after that, in 1991, I think, 1990, I think, when the Iranian gate happened. So the price of oil go up, and the oil price go up, and then the American cars not get competitive, and they have to buy Japanese car. This is when the reality hit. Suddenly, Japanese car have 30% market share of the United States. And the Americans threatening the Japanese. They have what they call voluntary export restraints. Voluntary restraint, they call it. So basically, they only can sell like 1 million car, then 2.3 million car, and the price of Japanese car went up. At that time, in 1981, the price gone up about $5 billion in 1981. It's a lot of money at that time, okay? So, what happened to the Japanese? So I saw this. So they call it the value chain, the supply chain for the cars in Japan went bankrupt. Destroyed it. The real estate price, because see, if you remember, price of real estate in Ginza doesn't measure by, this is an analogy, they call it by stamps, the size of stamps. That's how expensive the land in Ginza, because it's so expensive. It's more expensive than New York. And because of that, the government has to interfere and save the banks because, for 35 years, since 1945 to 1975, I think, they grew by double digits for 35 years and suddenly collapse in 1989, 1990s. They call it the last decade, the lost decade. So this is, for the Japanese, is devastating. I don't know if you know, but in Japan, when they lost, to kill themselves is not something embarrassing for them. For us, for Muslims, it's not good, but for Japanese, it's just way of life, and they have a course to do that, and people pay for it, to do that. So it was such a very dramatic and drastic things in Japan at that time. So value chain, supply chain for cars destroyed, banking and financial industry destroyed, political system destroyed. So everything, although they survive, Americans survive, but they destroy. So if you say this is something will go on, it's moving on. The Americans also molded and tried to survive with that also. So in 1994, they created what they call NAFTA. But the Americans understand this. When President Clinton signed NAFTA in 1994, they knew city of San Antonio lose jobs overnight, 200,000 jobs overnight, like that. Levi Strauss moved the job from San Antonio to Mexico, to the border. 1,600 jobs lost in one night, 200,000 jobs from San Antonio. Although study later show that actually Texas made more jobs than before NAFTA, and more money. Actually, before jobs, it was like $20 an hour, and after that it's $40 because it's in services industry. But that was what happened with Japan and what happened with the United States, and they knew. When during NAFTA, the American trade balance minus 1.3 billions with Mexico and more than 13 billions with Canada. So basically, they're feeding Canada with NAFTA and they're feeding Mexico with NAFTA. So right now, if they stop Canada, and during Trump 1.0, this is what they renegotiate. They don't want to do this anymore any longer. So this is like a double sword what they're trying to do. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm trying to say, that although this is molding, and if you look at the current balance and a trade deficit is bad for the United States, but not necessarily it's bad for the world as well. But this is something that we have as a decision maker have to do and have to navigate what's best for the country. And let me go on. Okay, I'm getting too long for this. Sorry. All right. So let me jump now to how Indonesia, or how countries like Indonesia is doing. So in the last 10 years or so during Pak Jokowi, Indonesia had transformed itself with a big investment in what we call a value chain. Indonesia name it hilirisasi, but this is a value chain of how we do enhancing from ore, when we do it just raw ore from aluminium, from nickel, from all these things into something more value-added process. So when I came in as trade minister in 2014, we sell about $1 billion worth of nickel ore. In 2019, I'm sorry, but 2019 is about $1 billion in nickel ore. Okay, but in 2020, the Minister of Investment at that time, now is Minister of Energy, stopped this export. Right away, stop the export. You cannot sell ore anymore. You have to sell in terms of they call it half-finished product for nickel. Do you know how much the value-added process at that time? So in 2020, in December, the value-added export in nickel is $10 billion. In 2021, that nickel was transformed into stainless steel. The stainless steel in 2021 transformed into $20 billion. I was a trade minister at that time. So this is no joke. And I think the year after that was like $26 billion. I was invited by Carnegie Foundation to talk to the African Union countries about these things. And because of that, Indonesia right now will be the key major player for nickel becoming an EV battery. About at least $40 billion invested in eastern Indonesia, about maybe radius about 200 kilometers from Bandar Naira in Gobi Island, around there, Pak Jokowi, the previous president, did the right thing in investing there. And if you look at the investment value between between the east and west of Indonesia, actually in the last 3 years, East Indonesia is invested more in the Western Indonesia. So this is a very success story for Indonesia. And because of that, and we found a new technology from the Chinese, how the nickel that usually in the last 20 years being what they call waste nickel, now becoming nickel. So we have the supply for the world in the next 40 years, 50 years to come from the existing nickel that we have. So I think this is a very important thing for Indonesia. So now, what I want to share with you is, this is not Chatham Ham yet. This is not Chatham Ham. This is published. Okay. So I just want to share with you. If you look at the people around United States president, it's all technological people. Elon Musk is there. AI guys are there. Mark Zuckerberg bought a house in Washington, D.C. So a lot of people sitting there because I think they're sitting on something is very important in Washington, D.C. So if I need to guess of what they're sitting, they must be sitting on something that can break time and space. The last time they did that was James Watt in 1860 when they found a steam engine. When Henry Ford found an assembly line to develop Model T. I think they're at the brink of doing that. Sure enough, Tesla is coming with 100% autonomous car this June. So, I don't know, but this must be something that they like. Why is that? Does Caesar have a pointer? Oh, sorry. How do I get that? Oh, sorry. Oh, look at this. Okay. So if you look, the most important part is March 12th, 25% on global steel and aluminum imports. March 26th, 25% tariff on automobiles and auto parts. Import on EV cars, President Biden put a 60%, and President Trump put 100%, especially from China. So, to me, why does steel, after so many years, becoming important for the United States? They outsourced this 30 years ago. US steel has not been competitive. Japan Steel trying to buy US steel in the last 4 months. United States say no. Now they are insidious right now, trying to do that. So they're trying, the steel in the US costs 3 times more expensive than anywhere else in the world. But they're trying to make sure the industry is coming back to the US, okay? Because I think the third common denominator is car, right? I told you, automotive. So this is something to do with that. So I told you, right, the MC told you that I was ambassador in Japan. And one day I was in Okinawa, and there is a research center there called OIST. And this is way in 2011. I was looking at professors, looking at fish. So I look, they look at tanks and tanks of fish, and I go like, Professor, what are you doing? Oh, we're using artificial intelligence to look at fish. Why? Because fish, And this is 2011. I had no idea about artificial intelligence. I had no idea about self-autonomous car. I had no idea about these things. So they said that, well, fish, Ambassador, is one animal in the planet who never collide with one unto another. So they're learning it with artificial intelligence because they don't want to collide to each other. So now they figure it out somehow. In 2020, they said that they should find something. Japan's supposed to look at something that they actually do not. In 2020, during Olympics, they're supposed to have a taxi with self-autonomous. But now, June, Tesla will come with that. Okay? Let me go straight. This is, I think everybody already knows that the one that tax very high is Cambodia. Don't ask me why Cambodia, who export only $12 billion with surplus about $12 billion, so they don't import anything, has the highest tariff. I think because it's a proxy to the Chinese, they don't have borders. So if a Chinese product goes to Cambodia and they put made in Cambodia and send it to the United States. Vietnam, like I said, export 350 billion dollars export, 136 billion dollars to the United States, with a surplus of 123 billion dollars. Indonesia, with 280 million people, we only export 260 billion. They are 136 billion just to the United States. Okay, and Thailand, $63 billion export with $45 billion surplus. Indonesia, export about $28 billion, $17.9 billion surplus. This surplus for the Indonesia to the United States is extremely important. I will show you why is that. Okay, this is the format. Why is that important? See, our biggest surplus to the world is to India. We have like $20 billion surplus to India, but our product to India is cooking oil. From CPO, cooking oil to India. Cooking oil is the cheapest oil, so it's no-brainer. But to the United States, it's $17 billion. It's the second largest export, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's the second largest surplus and export. But this is our product that we sell. Textile product, electronic, footwear, seafood, and palm oil. That's the top 5. And if we got this, tariff, 55% of our export in textile is the United States. Can you imagine? These people who works in textile industry is a very, very worker intensive. People will people will lose jobs here. We don't know where to send it, basically. We don't have markets for this textile. Only the United States is the market. Electronics. This is not electronics like the Vietnam electronics, like Samsung telephone or anything like that. This is like router for Wi-Fi, simple electronics products. So very cheap, very efficient, very good, but very simple, okay? And then seafood. The seafood is a bit different. The seafood, the bulk, the shrimps, the bulk that goes to restaurants come from India. The Indonesian one is the one that is cut, put it in plastic wraps for supermarket. That's the Indonesian one. And if that cut, that worth a lot of money, at least $4.5 billion will be gone out of $19 billion that we export to the United States. We basically we are very suffering, very big if we got cut on that. So, to me, this is one of the most important part to sit down with the United States. And like I told you, I was there in 2020 to do as an Indonesian ambassador to the United States. And to deal with Donald Trump's is to understand what they want. This is the art of diplomacy, is to know what you want. So I want to highlight of what I think is very important for Donald Trump at this time. This is the negotiations. By the way, Indonesia was of the first countries that sit down with USTR, which is very good, I think, because I think Indonesia knows what they want and what the United States want. Yeah. So the first one is with UK. This is their allies. You know, they will do together. I don't know if you know, but Diego Garcia, the base that they have with Mauritius, has been signed by the United Kingdom, and they will share this base in Indian Oceans. And the UK has signed the trade deal. Although to me, I think the trade deal is not that big, but it illustrates that they have what they want with one to the other. Okay. The second one is with China. This is like, how do I say it here? This is like a meeting of a soulmate. They cannot live without each other, to me. So, whatever they do, now they have to sort it out. The one that I haven't told you about, one coefficient here, is fentanyl. You've heard about fentanyl, right? About the drugs. About fentanyl. This is something serious that the United States want from the Chinese. Stop fentanyl's smuggling from China. Of course, the Chinese does not want to recognize that. But it's a fact of life that fentanyls come from China, smuggled from China. And if the Chinese would like to stop it, I think the Chinese can. So I don't know whether it's true or not, but the rumor says the negotiation in Geneva is about fentanyl. So if that's true, it's not about trade anymore, it's about drug wars. So this is something that we should put in our mind too. This is something that they have not disclosed to us. But fentanyl is something President Trump been talking about too. So this is, to me, it's a pair of soulmate, the pair of twin flames, if you know about tarot cards. They cannot live without each other. They have to live with each other. And they find a way to iron it out. The third one is investment. So if you want to get the attention of President Trump, you have to know what he wants. From the formula I give you, a simple formula I give you at the beginning, nothing he wants more than investment. He is a businessman. What he wants to see is creating of jobs, creating of value addition in the United States. The scale is nothing like Indonesia. When he talks about scale, it's $1 trillion or more. So this is what he does. You saw the tug of war with the president of South Africa. Are you guys going to give me a jet? Of course he's not going to give him a jet. So this is what enticed President Trump more. So, Professor, this is what we need to teach our young generation, is how to entice people to sit down and do the art of diplomacy. So if you cannot do the art of diplomacy, this is my tip. You beg for your country, you do anything you can to do it. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Lutfi, for the remarkable keynote speech and your first-hand experience and deep understanding of Indonesia's economic landscape amidst global uncertainties, from trade wars to shifting geopolitical dynamics, have truly enriched us all today. It is a privilege privileged to witness how strategic vision and diplomacy can be harmonized to navigate complex challenges with both pragmatism and optimism. Bapak Muhammad Lutfi, are you open to questions? Okay. Um, all right. Now we open the Q&A session for the floor. Perhaps limited to 2 questions only. If anyone would like to ask questions to Pak Lutfi, please raise your hand, mention your name and your affiliation.
Okay, good afternoon, Pak Lutfi. It's very nice to have you here and explaining to us the complexity of the world economy and countries. One thing that they have in common is that, in my opinion, is that they have manufacturing industry. Manufacturing here means, like you have said, the automobile, electronics, and that sort of thing. They don't really, they focus too much on those products that have high added value. And from there, they can have a trade surplus when they do trade, right? And in case of Indonesia, we have started to have a hilirisasi in nickel during President Joko Widodo, and now I think we are trying to do more. My question is that how are we, how is that Indonesia will, let me think, how Indonesia cannot do what those countries did, because we have a lot of things actually. We have resources, we have cheap labor, because it's really important in order to compete in international market. And that is also, I think, one of the reasons of why Trump put a wall of tariff, because they want to have jobs in the domestic country. They want to have manufacturing industry back to the country. But we actually have those resources. But the thing is, we cannot. Like right now, we're not in that situation. So, what's going on here? Maybe you can enlighten us a little bit about that situation. Thank you, Pak Lutfi.
Let me answer that first. This is definitely a challenge, and a few things that that came to my mind. There is a curse. I don't want to say this, but there is a curse of having abundance of resources. We just suddenly become depressing, nice. But second, we have to do a lot of things that is not easy. That is not easy. You know that we try to do value-added process since 2014 by law. You know, if Jokowi didn't say stop now and persevere to stop it, people find a way not to stop it. Because it's so easy just to take the nickel, cost $20, just send it to China as raw material. So easy. You know, to push to do the value-added process, make the factory, and all those things need a very big commitment. And we are lucky, I think, we have leaders like him. Otherwise, we can't. Okay? Now, second stage. Not just commitment to do value-added process. What we need now is good, skilled worker. Not easy. Do you know that maybe the one that graduated from high school, you know, to operate those mines, those furnace, those smelters, need at least a high school diploma. If you look at the numbers of people that graduate from Indonesian high school, this is true numbers. What? It's only a third the numbers of high school that compared to the number of grammar school, of SD. That's a number. So, 2/3 gone in admission. In order to get the golden time for Indonesia and Indonesia Mas things, we have to have 96% of Indonesian kids graduate from high school. So, we actually have to revolutionize the way we teach our kids. I was hoping actually, you know, Indonesia would find a way to teach Indonesians using 5Gs and stuff like that. The problem is not building the school. The problem is getting a quality teacher. That is the problem, you know, and having it in the middle of Indonesia. Now the central of Indonesian nickel is in the southeastern of Sulawesi. Do they pay well? They pay very well. I told you I was the chairman of one of the largest. I was chairman of one of the largest oil company and copper company, along with geothermal company. So we pay well for we pay well for engineers. These people in southeastern Sulawesi, in Sulawesi Tenggara, is Chinese. They pay even better than oil and gas company that's structured by, regulated by Pertamina. They pay better. So the challenge is finding good people. And if we cannot catch up to that, and time is limited, yeah. Do you know that in order to skip middle income trap, we have to reach $12,700 before 2038. Why before 2038? Because in 2038, the measurement happens when the older generations will be more than the younger generations. That's the deadline. So once it skips, the study shows that you cannot skip the middle income trap when you have more older generation than younger generations. That's our target. So 2038, 2040. So that's our target. If we cannot reach that, gone forever. Thailand reached that deadline in 2010. They're supposed to get $10,000 per capita in 2010. Skip it. They had a quarrel, they have a coup d'etat, skip it. You know how much their GDP per capita right now? 7,000, 6,000 something. Never happened. Goodbye, Thailand. So, if we didn't do this right, we're supposed to double our GDP to 10,000 before 2030. 5 years. Can we do it? If we do this nickel right, if we do this EV right, if we have a good trade agreement right, I think we can. We have to. Otherwise, we will not be rich when we are old. Tua sebelum kaya. That's what's going to happen. Never. One more.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I talk too much, Bu Professor. Maaf.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Lutfi, for inspiring keynote speech. We're sorry, ladies and gentlemen, due to limited time, we end the Q&A session. So let's move to the next agenda, which is token of appreciations. So Mr. Muhammad Lutfi, please remain on the stage. So we invite Professor Dian Mashita to present a token of appreciation. Thank you very much. So we also invite Dr. Teguh Yudo and also Dr. Lutfi to photo group session, please. Okay. Let's start the photo session. 1, 2, 3, click. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, click. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Lutfi. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, so due to another important commitment and also schedule constraint, so Mr. Muhammad Lutfi leaving for the next agenda. So let's proceed for the next proceedings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so our next proceeding is that panel session with the topic Navigating the Trump Tariff Era, Strategic Responses for Indonesian Business and Exports. This session will examine how global trade tensions, particularly those during the Trump administrations, have influenced Indonesian trade and export strategies, and how Indonesia can respond strategically across sectors. We are pleased to have with us a distinguished group of experts who will share their insight from the perspective of international trade, banking, and macroeconomic policy.
The session will be moderated by Dr. Rima Prama-Arta, Chief Economist at Dana Reksa Research Institute and a lecturer at the Faculty of Economics and Business. With her academic and policy expertise, Dr. Rima brings valuable insight to these important discussions. And ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rima Prama-Arta, please come forward to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor for me to sit here to moderate a session on navigating the Trump tariff era, strategic response for Indonesia business and export. I think we already know what happened and then what is impact of it. Even IMF already changing the assumption on the projection for economic growth up to 0.5%. So the impact is quite massive. And it is very a privilege for us today. We will have two distinguished speakers with us who will bring deep on their expertise on discussion on this, particularly on banking sector. I think I will introduce our two speakers and probably they can join me here. The first one is Bapak Indra Kampono. Papa Indra is EVP from BSI, Head of Corporate Banking Group, and previously he is a President Director for Fitch Rating, And then he graduated from New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire University, or MBA. Welcome, Pak. And the second one is Bapak Dendi Ramdhani. He is a VP Industry and Regional Research from the Office of Chief Economist Bank Mandiri. And he graduated from PhD from University of Antwerp. I think because we only have a limited time, so without further ado, I will give a time for each of our presenters to present about 15 minutes, and then we will follow up with a question and answer. I think, yeah, Pak Indra, you can start first. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang saya hormati Profesor Dian, our Dean Faculties of Economic and Business, University Islam Internasional Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, Ibu Rima dan Pak, selamat sore semuanya. So the presentation that I'm going to do is about our view, especially from the banking perspective. More toward the Islamic bank, which is Islamic bank point of view. Can you put up the slide, please? So the global economy is navigating currently is during the unprecedented volatility driven by the US and China trade dispute, inflationary pressures, and geopolitical realignment. Indonesia, this tension poses both risks and opportunities. As Southeast Asia's largest economy, Indonesia banking sector is at the forefront of the challenges, tasked with the stabilizing domestic growth and adapting to the external shocks. This presentation that I'm going to give is going to be short, is to explore how us, Indonesian bank, especially on the Sharia front, can leverage this situation by try to leverage our digital innovation, Islamic finance, and strategic policy alignment to transform turbulences into sustainable growth. Against the backdrop of Bank Indonesia recent rate cuts and ambitious national growth target 8% by 2029, this discussion I think is quite critical for us as stakeholders aiming for a future proof of the financial ecosystem. Next slide, please. If you look at the financial sector's views on the global tension currently that we are having, we see that there are two challenges. There are few challenges and also few opportunities. The U.S. expanded tariff on Chinese products, especially on the EV, which is about 25%, and semiconductor as well, have disrupted the supply chains, which already mentioned with Pak Lutfi previously. A lot of disruption in the supply chains, indirectly pressuring Indonesia export of raw material like nickels, ore, and palm oil, because that's our major export sectors that we are currently focused on, or we are pioneering on across the globe. However, this has amplified our volatility in US dollar IDR rate, which plummeted to 16,500 back in April before BI intervention stabilized at 15,900. Domestically, bank also experiencing tight liquidity condition with the loan to deposit ratio reaching up to 87.5%. Non-performing loan in consumer segment especially have also increased 1.2% during the first quarter 2025. This is quite alarming because our portion of loan to SME is amounted about 30%. Currently our bank debt portfolio around 7,800 trillion. So 30% is quite big for Indonesia, where it is the bulk of the major businesses across the nation. So I think looking at these challenges, there are still opportunities that we can get, so especially from how to mitigate this trade tension. First, Islamic trade finance, I think, offer alternative strategies that promote risk-sharing, came from the booming of digital payment, risk-sharing and transparency, fostering trust between trading partners. A lot of transactions now convert it or sideline it from the conventional banking structures into Sharia finance. You know, especially on the infrastructures, we see a lot of infrastructure projects now have been done in Sharia transaction, because a lot of transparency in that space, a lot of risk participation, and also a lot of investors come and goes into the transaction from the regular investor. Other opportunities came through the booming digital payment adoption. QRIS transaction up about 10%, offer levers to leverage credit demand. Bank face low liquidity position. Sustainable sukuk also can act as liquidity buffer and provide issuers such as government and corporation with access to capital market to fund green initiative like renewable energy or sustainable infrastructures while maintaining financial stability. So I think this is what we are going to discuss for during my presentation. These are the opportunities that we as a bank or a Sharia bank can do for the next 3 to 5 years to encompass our challenges that we are facing now. So from the Islamic trade finance buffer, next slide please. Islamic finance provide strategy toolkits to mitigate the trade tension. For instance, Indonesia local currency settlements. Currently we have agreement with Thailand. I think back in 2024 last year, we have an agreement with BAF Thailand to enable the direct rupiah-based transaction for 15% bilateral trade. This is reducing our dollar dependency and hedging costs between us and Thailand. And I think this is going to encompass to almost the Southeast Asian country later on in the coming future. Similarly, sovereign sukuk also have been providing our liquidity buffer. The 2 billion green sukuk issue in 2024 not only funded renewable project but also backed Sharia compliance trade guarantees for halal export. So I think this is one of the key important aspect that for Indonesia as a major player in sukuk issuance in the global economy. A case point, Sinarmas Agoro partner with us, secure 50 million murabah facility using sukuk proceed to pre-finance palm oil shipment to Saudi Arabia bypassing dollar-based letter of credit. So I think this is what we can replicate to other export or to other major industry that we are going to save more costs in terms of hedging and also transaction. These instruments align with Islamic Development Bank risk sharing initiative, with absorb 30% of default in Indonesia SME export deals in 2024. So this has been happening, and this is one way for us to continue to further our transaction in banking system for the coming years. Next one, please. If we are talking now about QRIS, everybody here, when we do transaction locally here, I think it's very rare to see people using cash anymore or even using credit card. QRIS is the way of the future, become emblematic of Indonesian push for digital sovereignty, in which President Trump also commented that QRIS is make them difficult to come to do the transaction in Indonesia. They're said that local players like GoPay or OVO, is limiting capability of Visa as Mastercard to enter the transaction in Indonesia. However, BI has mandated for QRIS transaction data localization. Since data localization will be stored in onshore server, this is to ensure that compliance with Indonesia data privacy law while preventing foreign firms from monetizing user analytical. This policy has spurred regional collaboration Indonesia QRIS, integration with Singapore in just this year, allow seamless cross-border payment for 12 million migrant workers, saving about 120 million annually in remittance fee. So if you look at it, that QRIS is become one of the key major player in doing a transaction. Especially we can now using this as over cross-border transaction. Beyond concern related to the US, Bank Indonesia QRIS can also be used in South Korea now, China and Japan. This is demonstrating the potential of Indonesia's single payment platform to facilitate broader cross-border transaction with other countries. So I think Indonesia has also to address what is US concern on allowing other company to do the payment transaction in Indonesia. So I think BI is piloting a dual QR process, one adhering to domestic standard and another compatible with Europay, MasterCard and Visa in the global template. So this will balance our sovereignty with interoperability, ensuring QRIS remain a pillar of financial inclusion. So using just the QRIS alone, Indonesia have successfully banked 27 million Indonesian on board since 2020. So this is quite a jump for Indonesian banking system. The next one is the sustainability revitalizing Sukuk. With global lenders tightening financing term, Indonesia exporter face a catch-22. They need the capital to upgrade the machinery for compliance with Western tariff. However, the conventional or traditional loan are lengthy in process and in need more of collaterals. Green Sukuk, offer alternative medium. Globally, the Sukuk issuance reached about $170 billion, with Indonesia portion of about $7 billion as of 2024. The Green Sukuk usually allocated to project to reduce or to create a better environment for us. Indonesia alone is already reduced 10.3 million of CO2 and improve waste management for over 7 million households. So this is one of the major breakthrough for Indonesia when we issue Green Sukuk in Indonesia. What is the key features of Sukuk, Green Sukuk in Indonesia? First, investor diversity. Attracted 90% of investors from Europe and US and also from the Finnish country, where a lot of investors coming from overseas, they are looking Sukuk as equivalent to ESG compliance. So a lot issuing a Green Sukuk or issuing a Sukuk is attracting different type of investor. It's not the only investor that coming from US and Europe, but also other investors who are really looking for the green alternative or ESG compliance. Most of the use of the proceeds of the Sukuk usually used to fund renewable energy infrastructure like solar plant, energy efficient public transportation, and climate resilience infrastructure in vulnerable regions. Syariah compliance structures under Indonesia Green Bond and Green Sukuk frameworks reviewed by Center for International Climate Research or CICERO for environmental integrity. So our Green Sukuk has been certified by the global organization and also adapted or accepted by global investor. If you look at it just for the past 2 years, Green Sukuk has been issued by 2 companies. One is BSI. We issued the first Green Sukuk last year, about 10 trillion, which is, next slide please, which is oversubscribed, and we plan to issue further Sukuk this year. And if you look at PT Pos Indonesia, also issue Sukuk just this year for 1 trillion via sustainable Sukuk. They are using the fund for business development initiative, including infrastructure enhancement and digital transformation project. So this is very clear that companies Indonesia is using this alternative for potential source of funding in Indonesia. If you look at the animo of the investor that coming into the capital market of Sukuk is quite big. Looking at the current tension in US and the rest of the world, a lot of investor in US is looking alternative solution. So I think this is our homework in Indonesia to provide alternative notes, alternative investment, that can increase our capability to capture more market and increase our capability to grab more investor from overseas. Yeah. So, my short presentation providing 3 recommendations for bank. Diversification is paramount. BCA in 2024 syndicated Wakalah deal Sukuk 500 million demonstrated how Islamic instrument can attract Middle Eastern liquidity at 150 bips lower than conventional bond. So by just looking at this is very huge development. While the same instrument, the same risk, but can attract lower pricing. So this is one of the instrument that can be used for banks or for companies to get more funding overseas. Regulator must accelerate Asian QRIS integration. A unified QR code for ASEAN could save about 2 billion annually in transaction fee. This initiative can make a bank more efficient and more effective, and of course us as user or a customer can be flexible in doing transaction cross-border. BI recent Green Sukuk framework expansion to include export sector retooling is a step forward, but mandates would drive scale. So I think 10% of bank lending to green projects by 2026 is one drivers that can enhance the Sukuk issuance in Indonesia. The government should also embed QRIS standard into trade talks, offering the US technical role in Europay, MasterCard and Visa could ease tension while retaining data control. So we are allowing them to come into Indonesia, but as long as they can build their data control in data center in Indonesia to maintain our integrity of data. Last thing is subsidizing Sukuk issuance. By subsidizing Sukuk issuance via probably 1% or 50 bips interest rebate would make them more viable for SME, aligning with Prabowo Asacita agenda. Because the current agenda is we are focusing more on the SME, developing more on the SME. I think the way forward to get more funding and liquidity is also to allow SME to issue at least Sukuk, in a cheaper way, in a more effective and efficient way. So in conclusion, I think currently Indonesia is banking sector is stand at the crossroad. The path to 8% growth hinge on the setting of anti-fragility mindset that takes volatility into advantage. Employing QRIS exemplify this by turning a US trade critic into a tool for ASEAN financial autonomy. Similarly, Green Sukuk can convert ESG compliance costs into investor appeal. We also need to create a mutual agreement that balance Indonesia domestic standard with the US business initiative, which allows stream of free trade from the US while protecting our domestic market. Urgency in critical, very critical, because banks should accelerate the adoption of AI-driven credit scoring to mitigate the risk of rising of NPL. 2025 to 2029 is very critical period for us to get this opportunity. Without proactive measure, Indonesia risks falling behind ongoing global realignment. By integrating digital sovereignty with principles of ethical finance, the banking sector can serve as foundation for resilience and high growth of economy. So this will conclude my presentation, and later on I'll take a question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Indra, for highlighting the opportunities and strategies for banking under this economic uncertainty. I think the time now for Pak Dendi to present more on global and macro in terms of the impact of the Trump tariff. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore, salam sejahtera. Yang terhormat Bu Dian Masita and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitations. It's a great honor for me to be here, to come back in campus. So campus is always in my heart because I was growing up in campus. I spent 8 years for my PhD and also postdoctoral research in Belgium. So I'm very happy to be here. So now I'm working in a commercial bank, Bank Mandiri. It's the largest bank in Indonesia. So I'm working as an economist. My job especially is to provide advice to businesses people in Bank Mandiri, from board of director to regional people, yeah, or any unit businesses, we call it, people who are working to provide loan and many things. Yeah. So my view is always required, and they always appreciate what the economics team in Bank Mandiri provide. So now I'll be sharing about my view about the Indonesia banking sector, especially under the global economic uncertainty. As we know, I think Pak Lutfi has explained very well about the trade war. It doesn't work. So this is my structure of presentations. So I'll be explaining about the trade war, yeah, some, or in more detail about the trade war. Yeah. Some has been explained by the Pak Lutfi, and then we go to the impact to the Indonesia economy, and more specifically to Indonesia banking sector, and to conclude the presentations. So I think we need to understand what the reason behind the trade war. Yeah, it's simply that the U.S. want to reduce their trade deficit. Yeah, but it's some argue that their goal is a bit strange. Yeah, because if you look at the basic theory in macroeconomics, Pak Lutfi has described the equation. Yeah, if you remember, he explained about saving investment gap plus trade deficit is equal to current account deficit. So that's very basic and very philosophical equations explaining that the trade deficit that US experience is simply because of their own mistakes. Yeah, so it is not the mistake of China or any other countries. So it's simply, for example, if you have an income 10 million rupiah, and then you spend 20 million, so you are suffering from deficit. Yeah, meaning that you have to finance your deficit. Yeah, borrowing from someone else, and then after that you are blaming the seller. You are selling too much to me. So that's what the US has done now. I think many economists, yeah, for example, like Professor Stiglitz and Jeffrey Sachs, he explained that this is a very basic economic theory, that what Donald Trump has done, it has no theory and it has no logic in economics. So that's why I think, yeah, it's very strange. So the policy should be that it's simply that US reduce their aggregate demand, the trade deficit or current account deficit, because of they spend too much, their aggregate demand much more than their production capacity or GDP. So that's why they need to import, they need to buy more, because the domestic production cannot meet the domestic demand. Yeah, so meaning that demand more than their what they can produce. So if you look at the US trade balance, it's very large here. It's very large, and for Indonesia, we have a surplus 19.3 billion US dollar. Yeah, so it's simple. It's a small number for us. Yeah, because every year we are importing about 30 or 35 billion oil. Yeah, so we can just change. We are importing from US. So the solution is found. Yeah. For Indonesia, it's simple. But if you look at the number of trade deficit, US and China, Mexico, or Vietnam, for example, I don't think they can find a solution. Yeah, I mean, for us, we simply just move our import needs to the US. So for other country, I think that's not easy to find the solutions. So it doesn't work. Yeah, the impact for the global economy, including Indonesia, I think we can see that it could be trade channels, yeah, and then the second one, it could be that the investment channels and financial market. So it's clear that the trade volume will be declining and also investment declining, but on the other hand, probably Indonesia has an opportunity to attract investment, especially from China and also including US. And for the financial market, it is very hard for Indonesia because the volatility in the global market can trigger the capital outflow. I can show you the data. It implies that rupiah depreciate more than 17,000 in the last few weeks. So yeah, this is the data that I got from Fox News. Yeah, some other countries like, including Indonesia, we just simply offering concessions. Yeah, some other negotiate, but I'm not sure China and Canada they'll find solutions, and also EU and also Mexico. Yeah, one thing that we should underline that the tariff import, I think it is not only about the economic issue. I think Pak Lutfi has explained. So it's like power competitions between the existing power and rising power. So if you look at more than 500 years ago, there's always rising power meet the existing power, which is declining. So in some cases, they are triggering a war or military conflict. Yeah. For example, the gray line, it indicates the war. Yeah. Yeah. For example, between US and UK. Yeah. It was becoming the revolutionary in the US, and also the meeting between the Netherlands and UK, yeah, Netherlands and UK. I think it create a war in Java. Yeah, if you looking back the history, so that's always a conflict, and that's why some people argue that we may deal with third world war, yeah, because of the existing power, which is declining, US, and they meet with the US and China, yeah. So it may create the third world war. So this is the basic argument why people argue that there is a big risk dealing with the relationship between China and US. And you know, the hottest area is not in Europe or in Ukraine or in Palestine, but in Pacific Ocean, yeah, especially when we see US and China head to head in the Pacific Ocean. So this is the impact. I think you already know that the global economy will be lower in 2025 and 2026 because of the trade war and also lower trading international trade volume. So what is the impact to Indonesia? This is not, I think I have to move to this one. So this is more clear data about what we export to the US, yeah, And so I create a ratio between, sorry, this is in Indonesia, export Indonesia to US to the Indonesia total export. So this is the ratio simply reflecting the dependency of Indonesia export to the US. Yeah, the largest one is apparel, yeah, clothing, yeah, more than 60%, and also furniture, yeah, and also the meat, fish, crustacea. More specifically, it is the shrimp. Yeah, it's also almost 60%, meaning that about 60% of our export goes to the U.S. So we are really highly depending on the U.S. market. So if if U.S. charge import tariffs, so of course it will create problem for this industry, and that's the direct impact. Yeah, but also we could suffer from the indirect impact, yeah, lower export to other countries because the slower economic growth, and the second one, lower export because of commodity sector, from commodity sector, yeah, especially because of the price decline, and then rupiah depreciation, lower interest rate cut, yeah, you know, since last year in September and October, interest rate has been cut by the central bank, including in the US. I think that's a good sign that the central banks wants to push the economic growth. But yeah, because of the trade war, inflation is becoming the new risk, and it may constrain the interest rate cut program going ahead. And a higher bond yield, yeah. Of course, because of the capital outflow, especially because of the many capital from emerging market, they go back to the US, and so it pressure the bond yield in emerging market, and slower monetary policy transmissions, yeah. And then, yeah, in the end, our economic growth will be slower. So this is the prediction of the Indonesia economic growth. All institutions have lower prediction for 2025, yeah, after the trade war. I think we can just go to the. This is the structure of Indonesia economic growth. You may already know that almost or more than half of our economy is really depending on household spending. So in the last several quarters, we are suffering from low than 5% economic growth from household spending. So that create problem because I think that's very difficult for us to have economic growth more than 5%, because if the household spending lower than 5, I think that's very difficult to compensate from the other spending. And the other problem is the government spending. Because of the government now is still in transition period, so Pak Prabowo, they have some priority programs like MBG, yeah, free meal lunch, or 3 million housing program. I think the program is not yet executed very well, but at the same time, some other spending has been cut. Yeah, for example, traveling, yeah, for the government official has been cut. It has been done, yeah, but the new program is not yet executed. So that's a great problem. That's why the government spending is negative in the first quarter. In the first quarter, I think. Yeah, that's very difficult, yeah, to reach 5% this year. And this is the export structure, what we have, yeah. I think, yeah, in the last 20 or 30 years ago, yeah, the structure of Indonesia export is still not much different, yeah. All export is really depending on the commodities. So that's why it's really depending on the price, which is always fluctuating especially when the global economy is not good or like now. And then, yeah, this is the data about the commodity prices. It has been decreased, yeah, more than yeah, about 20%. I think that's not good for Indonesia economy. And this is what I have said, that the impact to the capital, to the financial flow, yeah. So until the latest data in 21st May, we are suffering from the capital outflow, especially from the capital market. Yeah, so that's why if you look at the equity price, yeah, share price in Indonesia Stock Exchange, many prices has been very low now, much lower than 3 or 5 months ago. Yeah. But luckily, we still have capital inflow, net capital inflow to bonds market. I think this is a good one, which provide support for the rupiah. Yeah, but we have to remember that the capital inflow in bonds market, there's a cost that we have to pay. Yeah, why they are coming to Indonesia? It's simply because of the yeah, we are offering high yield, high bond yield. Yeah, yeah, this is the rupiah. I think we can just move to the next slide. This is what we have to pay. Yeah, we can invite or we can attract money to our economy. People who have money buying bonds, government bonds, but we have to pay the cost, yeah, which is the bond yield more than almost 7% in some period, almost 6.9 or 6.8. I think this is not good, meaning that the government have very high cost of fund. Yeah, the borrowing cost is very high. So compared to Malaysia and Thailand, I think we have structural problem here. So yeah, it constraining the government to borrow more, yeah, because they have to pay very high cost of borrowing. And then, and this is the other problem in monetary policy. Yeah, actually the BI rate, this is the benchmark rate from the central bank, has been decreased twice. Yeah, but at the same time, we look at, there is another instrument from Bank Indonesia which is called SRBI. Yeah, this is a paper trying to attract money, offering higher interest rate, more than 7. Yeah, so it's create a crowding out problem, meaning that, yeah, the government, it's I mean the central bank seems not inconsistent, because they said, oh, the benchmark rate now 5.75, yeah, but at the same time, yeah, or on the other hand, they also offering an instrument which is called SRBI, and they offer more than 7%. Yeah, of course, the money goes to this instrument, so that's why it creates crowding out, and it creates problem also from the bank, because the liquidity is very tight. And this is what we see, the monetary transmission. Yeah, in theory, it's simply that if the central bank lowering their benchmark rate, and then it will transmit to the deposit rate, and then do credit rate or loan, yeah, and then in the money market as well. Yeah, so there's a problem here, because if you look at the deposit rate, it's still increases. Yeah, yeah. The problem is because of the crowding out from the SRBI. And if you look at the loan, yeah, loan which goes to working capital, it's still increased 4 basis point, but for the investment has been decreased 13 basis point. So it is good, yeah. Why? I think the main reason is because of they have a long-term view about the loan, yeah, and also because of the competition between bank very tight. So that's why bank now trying to provide lower, yeah, otherwise their competition will take this opportunity because we are competing one another to provide loan to our client. So what is the impact to the banking sector? We look at the loan growth, yeah. I think in the last, almost in the last 10 years, yeah, loan growth in Indonesia it was very low, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's very difficult to reach more than 10%, yeah. That's very different compared to the commodity boom, yeah. If you remember, we are enjoying commodity boom, yeah, from after the global economic crisis, yeah. So the commodity prices were very high. So because we are very depending on commodity and our economy dominated by the commodity sector, so loan also went to the commodity sector. So the growth rate of the loan growth also very high. But after that, it was that very difficult to reach more than 10%. And if you look at the same time, the deposit growth, which is the money that commercial bank collect, it's very low or even very low, 4.5. Yeah. Why? The reason because of the central bank also attract the liquidity using the SRBI instrument. Okay, I think I can just go to next slide. So, the source of growth for bank in providing loan mostly to the mining. Yeah, of course we are following the real economic. What the business is good. Yeah, what business good for the economy also is for the bank. So bank just follow the real sector growth. So we look at it may indicate that the mining is still good. Yeah, the loan growth is 24, and also financial intermediary. Yeah, and other is the electricity, and some other is health and government sector. So it indicates that what we offering to businesses is simply very I would say that's a classical problem in Indonesia economy. So we are not expecting that the manufacturing will grow very high because the condition is not very good, yeah, especially export oriented and also including manufacturing sector, domestic oriented manufacturing sectors, and also for the housing ownership. So it grows only 10%, yeah, including the personal loan, yeah, because of the economy is also not very good in the last few months. So I think I'll conclude. I know that moderator will inform me. This is the loan quality. Yeah, it start to increase. I mean, because of the, start to weaken. Yeah, the NPL, non-performing loan, start to increase. I think we can just move to the other slide. So this is our view concerning the economic prospect, sectoral economic prospect. Yeah, some sector are good, yeah, because have large opportunity to grow. Yeah, I mean, if you look at, in theory, we always we often use the S curve. Yeah, in the first stage the growth is very low, and then the second stage it start to increase, and then in the third stage it start to lowering again. Yeah, because of the the market start to be mature. So the sector are in the growth high growth period. Yeah. This one is resilient, meaning that they are not very fluctuating, yeah, or not depending on the economic situation. It's still growing. Yeah. For example, food and beverages, because of Indonesia has very high, very large population, and also dominated by the young people. So they are very consumptive. That's why the food and beverages resilient. Yeah. And some other are really depending on the economic situations, both international or global, and also domestic economic situations. And the last one, I think the risk factor for 2025 and 2026 is trade war. We already know, and then slower economic growth, lower commodity prices, and national budget cut. Yeah, because of the government is still in transition period. And the positive catalyst for the economy, I think, yeah, we still have some sector will be growing, whatever going on in the global and domestic economy, and some other are insensitive, or we call it resilient sector. And liquidity is still tight. Commodity price probably will be lower, but still profitable. Interest rate decline. I think that we are waiting for the economic situation in the global trade war negotiations, and some other it's depending on the government program, whether it can be executed quickly or not. Okay, that's all what I can tell you about the Indonesia economy, especially impact of the global economic war. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pak Dandi, for very insightful on the impact of the tariff trade war on global economics, and then economic and condition, and also banking sector. I think I can open a Q&A session. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Please introduce yourself and who you want to ask. Like either you want to ask both of the presenter or one of them.
Thank you, Dr. Rima, for the time. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ucha. I'm a student in MA Economics, batch 3. I would like to ask to both speaker regarding this topic. From the previous discussion, we discussed about the concept of multipolar system. Then myself see this as an initiative to shift the economic power, which is good. But then I have a concern about financial sector, as we know that when we're talking about globalization in trade, that is good. There is a positive correlation between globalization and trade, but it seems the globalization in finance is doing the opposite way. I mean, because me myself think that there's a pro-cyclical, there is a cyclical nature in finance which create the globalization, didn't give a positive outcome to the economy in certain condition. So my question is, what is your opinion regarding the idea of multipolar system regarding the trade in Trump era? That is my question. Thank you. I have another question. Basically, I almost forget. Second is I'm concerning about in the micro point of view, because we have been talking about macro point of view, how this Trump era will affect the macroeconomics, especially in finance. My concern is I see when I looking into the phenomenon in social media, there is a rising concern where people try to put their money not in local instrument anymore, but in dollar or in crypto market, because they think that it's liberated instrument that will not affected by the political risk. So I'd like to ask your opinion regarding this, how private banking or banking industry address the issue, this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think the first question is about the multipolar system. I think if you look at the from the bank point of view, if you look at about trade transaction for the past 10 years, it has been skewed toward the east, where a lot of transactions from all over the world going into China and India instead of going to Europe or US. Because of the demand is higher, the proximity is closer, and the price is much better. I think that's already been in that area for the past, I think, 10 to 15 years since the new transaction has been introduced in the southern hemisphere. So during this time, Indonesia, if you look at the numbers that Pak Lutfi previously show you, our exposure to US is not that big. It's only, if I'm not mistaken, it's only what, 12 billion? If not mistaken, it's very small. Our export has been go through the South China and India comparatively to the US, while the rest of the Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam and other countries, mainly probably on the textile industry, on the electronic goes into the Europe and US. So I think from our point of view, the multipolar system or the multipolar economy that is going on right now is not really impacted a lot to Indonesia as a trade partner. It's not that big. For the past 5 years, we have been heavily invest in our local infrastructures. Our money have been put into a lot of new infrastructures, mainly toll road, airport, seaport, and all the public services area. That's what we have been focusing on. On the export side, we've been focusing on the same strategy since the past 20 years, which is our rubber, our CPO, some of the gas probably for the use of within the Southeast Asia, not much going into Europe or US. So I think the global shifting at the global shifting that is being done by Trump, from our point of view, is not going to have a lot of impact. Especially on the Sharia front, we haven't seen any. That's from my first question. Probably Pak Denny.
Yeah, I think what we have seen in the last few months, it indicates that the end of globalization. Yeah, many people believe that many countries now, they are applying inward-looking strategy. Yeah, and then they are trying to find a true friend. Yeah, using bilateral relationship or bilateral agreement, and some other probably in a group level. Yeah, for example, BRIC. Yeah, Brazil, India, Russia, China. Yeah, South Africa. So they may be trying to make a group. Yeah, based on the solidarity or ideology or political interest and so on. So meaning that we cannot expect that the WTO is working or going forward. I don't think so. And then why? As we know that nobody care about the WTO agreement. Yeah, especially US and also some other. I think Joel not referring to the WTO. So that's why regionalism or multipolar system, I think what we will see in the next couple years. So that's why I think we have to be very smart, finding a true friend, and also, of course, it should be based on our national interest. That's from the perspective of the geopolitical economy. And one thing that may destroy the financial system is the use of, if you know, the SWIFT, Social for Worldwide Internet Financial Telecommunications. So each bank has its own codes. So if we are transferring money from Indonesia to other country, there's a code for the bank and also for the individual, which is the individual is simply the account number, but for the bank. So in the world, there's only one instrument for the international money traffic using SWIFT. So I think China now is trying to develop another alternative. I think it can create a competition, and it's good. Because if we have, I'll tell you something. Bank Mandiri has, in the last 3 or 5 years ago, I think we can freely transfer money to Russia, for example. And I know that Indonesia government bought weapon, or any military equipment from Russia. So that's very difficult to do a financial settlement. I mean, paying the money to the partner in the Russia, because if Russia, we know that it has been blocked. It has been in the red list. That's why we cannot make a payment. So it creates problem that the trade interaction between Indonesia and Russia, and also some other countries, just like Iran. Because we cannot do the we cannot do financial transaction. So the trading and also any economic relationship cannot be done. So that's create problem. So if we have another alternative instead of SWIFT, I think that's a good one. And the second one about the money many people put in US dollar and crypto. It's simply because of the economic uncertainty, and people put their wealth into safe haven. US dollar is okay. But the better one is gold. That's why gold price has increased very significantly. But I would suggest don't buy crypto. I think that's kind of I don't know, gemstone, batu akik. Many people asking to me how we invest in crypto. That they're difficult to explain using very difficult theory. I just say that you know the batu akik. Yeah, crypto is like batu akik. we never know when the price increase or goes down because it has no underlying. Yeah, be careful. Yeah, be careful. Yeah, that's all my comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I agree with this investment choice currently. I mean, if you look at cryptocurrency, I'm not sure the what is the market value now, probably around 3 point something trillion compared to gold that currently is at 22 trillion. And then comparative to other foreign currency, gold, for example, for the past few months has been significantly increased in terms of the value and in terms of the ability for the people to try to diversify their portfolio into gold. I think from bank point of view, as Bank Syariah is now is one of the bank that is being assigned as a bullion bank. We look at this opportunity to increase our capability, our capacity to bring back the gold into the market. Currently, we haven't got the right number how much gold that is being put under the pillow, in each individual, in a household. The idea of the government setting up a bullion bank is to bring that gold into the bank and to put into the financial system, in which we have been trying to do for the past year, and now our capability on selling the gold through the apps and through the application has been successful enough to capture market who has not been tapped into before. I think, if not mistaken, I think the transaction of gold has been increasing significantly in Bank Syariah. I think from currently is about a ton per month, if not mistaken, from previously only for few kgs. Yeah, so that there are a lot of potential on this space in terms of investment.
Is there any more question? I think I can open to one more question.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Mr. Indra and Mr. Andri, for your insightful sharing. I just want to ask regarding your perspective, from your perspective as the banking sector, what is the opportunity and the risk of the sovereign wealth fund or the Nantara, which is developed in Indonesia right now? Is there any effect or maybe the impact on your business and for the people also in Indonesia from the perspective of banking sector? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe Pak Dendi can answer first, and then after that.
Okay, I think this is a hot topic. Many people asking about this one. Okay, for me, I think the idea is good. Yeah, this is one of the brilliant idea to push the economic growth in Indonesia. Yeah, as we know that the Danantara. I think we have to distinguish between because some people are confused. It seems that Danantara has all the state-owned enterprise, and I think the existing state-owned enterprise, they run business as usual. I mean, because they already exist, so just running like a few years ago, or just like before. Yeah, it's like Bank Mandiri. They'll run daily, normally. Yeah, so they'll not be interfered by the Danantara. Yeah, it should be working as or operating like just before. Yeah, and Danantara will, what they'll manage is just profit coming from the state-owned enterprise. The whole profit, about 19 or 100 trillion rupiah, that's becoming a fresh money coming to the Danantara, and they'll invest this money. Yeah, but at the cost, yeah, the government should find another about 100 rupiah, because they usually they receive the profit from state-owned enterprise, so meaning that the government revenue will be lower. Yeah, that's problem for the government. But for the Danantara, they can manage this fresh money for the investment. Yeah, and the issue is three things. Yeah, the first one, the professionalism of the people. Yeah, because it's a new entity. Yeah, they have to build very solid organizations and manage people. I think that very big homework. And then the second one, about the governance. Yeah, it's also a big issue. Yeah, because many rumors about the political preference and also objectivity. That another issue, governance. And the last one is investment strategy. Yeah, until now, I think we do not yet hear clear what the investment strategy that Danantara will do. Yeah, of course, we know some from the government. Yeah, they are prioritizing the downstreaming program, food security, and what else? Three, I can't remember, but that's what the government want to achieve. And another problem, this is one thing very philosophical, I think. If we remember in 1980, many countries in the world, they privatize the state-owned enterprise. Yeah, it's simply they want that the state-owned enterprise they can operate like private sector. They make decision objectively based on profit and loss without any government interventions. That's the trend in 1980 until 90, and also in the first 2000. Yeah, but now we look at the Danantara. I'm afraid that it's like a setback. Yeah, because the state-owned enterprise and also Danantara, they interfere by the government program, meaning that they do business on behalf of the government to support the government program or government goals. Yeah, I think it can create problem. I mean, it's like a setback. Yeah, before we want to have state-owned enterprise very professional. They are operating like a private sector, but now without any government intervention. But now it's like, there is some mission of from the government. They put it in the state-owned enterprise, including Danantara. I think that we have to be careful. That's why the governance is very big issue, including the investment strategy.
Pak Indra, do you want to add on Danantara? I don't know whether BSI is part of Danantara yet or not.
Maybe soon.
Oh, maybe soon, okay.
Yeah, I think Danantara is the idea of having sovereign wealth fund is good, because is mobilization of capitalization from the state-owned enterprise. They can attract more long-term institutional funding, reducing our reliance on the foreign debt. That's number one. Number two is infrastructure investment. What kind of investment that is Danantara is going to go? Usually sovereign wealth fund is, we have excess of money and then we put the fund into other companies, other countries' projects to reduce risk. But whether this fund can be invested back into the country on the infrastructure project, I don't know, because it depends against on the strategy. The third one is economic stabilization, because the fund could act as buffer during the difficult era. We have liquidities to fund the project, especially internal project, right? And then is also can create a professionalization of asset management. Before, I don't know how much is the state-owned asset currently. I don't know, 6,000 trillion. Has not been mobilized properly or capitalized properly. It has been done, but it's not been looking at the top level. Probably by using this, is a way for the government to arrange more effectively in terms of the asset that we have. However, there is also risks that involved in this strategy. First, again, governance and transparency, in which we have not seen in our country for the past decade. It's very difficult to create governance transparency because it's going to be a huge asset on managing this state-owned asset. And then, how about INA? We already have sovereign wealth fund. INA is kind of duplication. So what is Danantara going to be, and what is the function of INA? That have to be defined, or whether INA will be go into Danantara, I don't know. And funding sources, where again, where is Danantara's going to get the capital? Is it coming from our own state budget, or where? Because it's going to be the same thing. So I think the success of this Danantara, it depends on the governance, the strategy again, the funding transparency, and also the capability of the people. So if we want to follow other sovereign wealth fund, I mean, look what have they done, why they are successful, and what are the strategy since the beginning. Because you cannot have only one strategy. Strategy can be involved, starting strategy, and then medium strategy, and then future strategy. I think that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Indra and Pak Dendi. I think because we are running out of time, so I think we need to conclude this session. And as we come to end of this session, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to our panelists, Pak Indra from BSI and Pak Dendi from Bank Mandiri. Both of them already provide some insight, particularly on banking sector, both on the impact of the tariff and also the strategic and also what could be a potential for Indonesia to navigate the condition. I think, again, I would like to say thank you also to all the audience that active participate on the session. And I think this is important things that need to be discussed, and also probably will take a long time to know the real impact. I think, thank you so much again, Pak Indra and Pak Dendi, for the session.
All right, give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. As we conclude this insightful panel discussion on navigating the Trump tariff era, strategic responses for Indonesian business export, we have gained valuable perspectives during this session. Our panelists have highlighted the critical role of regulatory reforms, strategic banking practices, and macroeconomic stability in ensuring Indonesia's resilience and growth amidst uncertainty. Thank you, Dr. Rima, and our esteemed speakers for their valuable contributions.
Now, we kindly invite all the panelists and the moderator to come forward to the stage for receiving the token of appreciation. We also kindly invite Professor Dian Masita, the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business, to please come to the stage to present the tokens of appreciation. Thank you very much, Indra, and give a round of applause once again. Dr. Dendi Ramdhani. Thank you so much. And last, our moderator, Dr. Rima Prama Arta. Thank you so much for moderating the discussion. We request from the panelists to remain on the stage for a group photo session with the Dean. All right. Thank you so much once again to all our speakers, to Dr. Rima as our moderator, and to Prof. Dian for joining us on the stage. You may have your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, participants, and all speakers. That concludes the first day of the International Conference on Muslim World Economies and Business, ICMWEB, and Call for Paper 2025. And on behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to extend our sincerest appreciations to all keynote speakers, panelists, moderators, and participants for making today's session both insightful and thought-provoking. Your presence and contributions have truly enriched our discussions.
And before we close, allow us to share some important information regarding tomorrow's agenda. The conference will continue with the presentation of all accepted papers, which will take place from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. across multiple parallel sessions. This will be followed by the announcement of the best paper winners, the prize awarding ceremony, and finally the official closing of ICMWEB 2025. We kindly ask all participants, especially paper presenters, to attend the respective sessions on time and to stay for the full durations of the program. Once again, thank you for being part of today's conference. We look forward to welcoming you again tomorrow for another impactful and inspiring day. Have a pleasant evening and see you tomorrow. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.